Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to catch up with the statements from both the EU Commission and the UK Government concerning the issues surrounding the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is of course the most contentious aspect of Brexit, and wonder what exactly Unionists have to really hope for in the immediate future. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So Maros Sefcovic of the EU Commission and David Frost of the UK Government had their little meeting a few days ago, came out with their statements afterwards. The joint expression of a desire to make the Northern Ireland Protocol didn't exactly take a crystal ball. I said that they would inevitably sort of say, oh yeah, we're going to cooperate, we're going to try really hard, when I talked about the subject just before the meeting. Sefcovic threw a few barbs in by saying that the solution could only be found through joint action and joint bodies, not unilateral action. The unelected Brexit Minister David Frost for the UK agreed that talks needed to intensify and that he would engage with business groups and other important stakeholders in Northern Ireland. In actual fact, that's the political side of it. Really, they also need to engage with stakeholders in Britain, because remember, what is affected here is trade from Britain to Northern Ireland, not the other way around. The reason for the needing to engage genuinely with people in Northern Ireland is because of the political angle as well. He also said some positive momentum had been established. But of course, they will often say, oh yeah, there's some progress being made here. It's like, what progress then? What progress? There was no breakthrough, of course. As I discussed before, the UK government want the EU to agree to change the protocol, which would mean different aspects of it are applied as and when the UK is ready with the system. So what Boris Johnson wants is like, oh yeah, we absolutely sign up to all these things in the Northern Ireland Protocol. Yeah, you already signed up to them, Prime Minister. Yeah, we're fine with that. We're okay with that. It's just the timing. Okay, what dates would you like? Can we just do it when we can be bothered? Rather than sticking to the agreed timetable. This is never going to be agreed. The UK government would then simply never apply those systems and we'd never be ready. It'd be like every year, you're ready to implement this phase yet? Oh, no. How are you coming with getting these systems in place? Oh, it's very difficult, you know. Sefcovic said that the UK needed to comply with clear endpoints, deadlines, milestones and measures of progress. And the thing is that if Boris Johnson and David Frost want to change any of these aspects, they are the ones who need to come up with the proposals. We may well end up getting into the same sticky position as last year with the Brexit deal talks. The UK constantly demanding that the EU come up with proposals. And it's like, well, the EU would say, well, here's our proposals. No, we don't like those. More proposals, different proposals. No, that's not how it works. If you don't like the other side's proposal, you come up with your own, and then you can negotiate a meeting in the middle, perhaps. Only this time, it's an even more ridiculous position. Like last year, we were negotiating a deal. This year, we're not. We already have the agreement. We also technically have the agreement on how it is to be implemented. The details of the Northern Ireland Protocol are established in a formal agreement that is now binding. If we have looked at it since and decided there's a few little pragmatic tweaks needed here, that's fine. And the general agreement allows for that to be decided jointly. It sets up the joint committee specifically to talk about that. But we're the ones who have to come up with those proposals. At the end of the day, we are the ones managing both sides of that customs border in the Irish Sea. We manage both sides, therefore we're the ones with the feet on the ground who can go, okay, we've got this difficulty. We reckon this would solve it. And from a legal point of view, the legwork has to be done by us as well. But I'll tell you something that didn't emerge from the meeting. And that's the UK government threatening to abolish the protocol altogether. Never mind the bullish talk for the benefit of the tabloids. There is no way they would or could do that. So coming at this from the point of view of unionists in Northern Ireland now, as best as I can, of course, not being in Northern Ireland. Now, there are two ways of looking at this. You can say that a clear majority of Northern Ireland voted to remain in the 2016 Brexit referendum. Northern Irish politicians also did not vote to exit from the EU with the Northern Ireland Protocol. As such, the protocol inflicts political and economic damage on a people that was against their expressed democratic wishes on every level. So that is one way of looking at it. However, the main opposition to the protocol comes from Unionists, and Unionists generally did vote Brexit. Certainly the main Unionist party represented in both Westminster and Stormont campaigned strongly to leave the EU, albeit not under these circumstances. Get that? In many respects, those who voted for Brexit and those Unionist politicians who campaigned for it, regardless of how it played out, are now reaping what they have sown. It's just like the farming industry or the fishing industry and so many others. That being said, not all Unionists voted for Brexit and not all Unionist politicians backed it. Naomi Long of the Alliance Party said something interesting earlier in the month. She noted that the government knew that Brexit would impact Northern Ireland the most acutely. Absolutely correct. She also said that they chose, instead of working through the issues legally, to promote lawlessness by suspending the protocol. And I think this is a very important point. Just look at, the way it would just look to those in Northern Ireland who have been rioting. The UK government didn't like the consequences of their own actions, so they just broke the rules. The rules don't apply to us. How is it any different for the rioters then? How do they have the moral authority to condemn people, taking part in civil unrest, if they've basically done the same thing themselves? We needed our politicians to set an example and engage in the manner in which we need everyone to engage. Instead, they deliberately stoked tensions for their own political purposes with either no idea or no care to how to tone those tensions down afterwards. Long also said that the reason for the unrest was partly down to the broken promises. Boris Johnson promised unfettered access. That is not what we got. And I find it incredibly difficult to keep having to process the situation whereby people believed it. Only a cursory understanding of Brexit would reveal that we were not going to get unfettered access. You didn't need to read into international customs law, you just needed to read the Northern Ireland Protocol, a single section of our withdrawal treaty. It was right there. It was also widely reported. A known liar in Boris Johnson denied that this was the case, but it was written down. But it is what it is. The Prime Minister promised a thing, and no matter how naive I may think people are for believing it, that does not excuse the fact that the head of the UK government deliberately lied about the consequences for a Brexit that was, at that point, impossible to stop from inside Northern Ireland, the majority of whose population voted against it. The DUP said of Šefčovič's statements that the protocol needed to be implemented in full. They said that his assertion that needs to be implemented in full, and I quote, belongs in the realm of fantasy, not political reality or negotiation. But here's what is real. The fact is that it's the DUP who are living in a fantasy land. The protocol is a matter of international law. The negotiations are not over as such. There's talk still going on, but the agreement calls for talks on a perpetual basis now between the EU and the UK. But the details of the protocol have been agreed. They're written down. It's a treaty. Any changes require joint agreement. That's the political reality. Negotiations utterly irrelevant. We're not negotiating something. It's in place. It's there, and it will sort of work if we just applied it. Now, there are things that can be smoothed out. There are little tricks, but will only come through discussion. The EU are not going to be in favour of the entire collapse of the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's simple as that. I could say, and indeed have said, that we could join the EEA. That would solve the problem. Back into the customs union and the single market, we solve all of these problems at a stroke immediately. But that is also not political reality with this government. The political reality, for the next few years at least, is that the UK government will not, under any realistic circumstances, support closer alignment with the EU. The EU will not compromise the integrity of their single market by throwing open their borders to smugglers. The UK government may be happy to do this, and indeed has on all of our British borders. Every single one. But the EU will not. So the political reality is full implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. That's where it is. This will be deeply distressing to many unionists, especially those who voted against this, but that is the reality. So the best way to manage Brexit now is to smooth off those edges of the protocol that will require engagement. There are some things that are just going to cause economic damage, and there are some things that for political reasons people are deeply distressed about as well. They're a fact of life now. I am deeply distressed about Brexit, but it is a fact of life. I can't ask anyone to unilaterally pretend it doesn't exist. Even if we got a government, let's say we were to change the government immediately. Let's say there was for some reason, the Conservatives lost their minds and triggered a general election, and for some other reason, they were swept out of power, and we had a new government that wanted to rejoin the EU. Let us just say, let's live in this fancy land for a moment. It sounds brilliant. That government still couldn't just join the EU. It couldn't just go, well, we're just going to pretend we're in the EU. No, it's not how it works. And the problem with Northern Ireland is if influential stakeholders in Stormont or the wider community dig their heels in and refuse to accept that the protocol can't simply be abandoned, all that means is that you're not fixing it. So it just means that the damage continues for longer. Steve Aiken of the UUP said that both sides were kicking the can down the road. Now, I don't know how he thinks the EU are, I have to say, because what does he expect them to do? They have an agreement that they expect to be honoured, and they've begun legal action. See, kicking the can down the road means putting something off. What does he think the EU are putting off exactly? But the UK government absolutely are kicking the can down the road because they need to work out how to implement the protocol whilst doing as little damage as possible. Bear in mind, they know full well Brexit does an immense amount of damage across the country. The problems the practical problems that occur as a result of the protocol in Northern Ireland occur for Britain as well. You know, it doesn't matter whether we're exporting to Northern Ireland or anyone around us, we have the same problems. It's just politically it's a bit dodgy with Northern Ireland because it's supposed to be part of the UK. Well, it is part of the UK. It's supposed to be part of the same market is what I should say. But that's what needs to be done. Implement the protocol, discuss ways of reducing unnecessary consequences, because there's a hell of a lot of necessary consequences now in that trade from Britain to Northern Ireland. They're not doing that, but they're going to have to. In that sense, Johnson and Frost are certainly kicking the can down the road. Aiken also said that if the hope was that time would dilute unionist opposition, then they are badly mistaken. Granted, I have no doubts that that opposition will be maintained. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see it enhanced the second Boris Johnson is forced to start implementing the protocol properly again. Because right now, there may be a significant number of unionists who think if we just keep on at this, they'll have to abandon it. It looks like Boris Johnson wants to abandon it. He keeps saying he does. So at the moment, maybe it's just simmering. And when he has to reaffirm yet again and start re-implementing it, which I would imagine has got to be before the G7 meeting in June, I can't even imagine what's going to happen if not, then what's going to happen then? Surely that opposition will scale upwards. At the end of the day, I think you have to look at it like this. There is strong opposition to complying with the protocol from a significant section, about half the population of Northern Ireland. This is a part of the world whose elected politicians have no serious influence over the Conservative government and can do little to obstruct them in their real aims. On the other hand, there is strong opposition to not complying with the protocol from the major powers of Europe and the United States at least. Their elected politicians can make life incredibly difficult for Boris Johnson, both diplomatically and economically. So if people think that Boris Johnson is going to side with someone based on what is going to cause him the least strife, who does he think he's going to bow to? That's the political reality. And we're all stuck with the consequences of the failure of our politics in this matter. But you don't solve a problem without facing up to it. The problem at the moment is we are going to have the Northern Ireland Protocol. People can look at it and say, well, it causes this damage and that damage. That's the damage of Brexit. That's Brexit. And the only way to stop that damage happening is to reverse Brexit. But that's not going to happen for a while. So what we have to do is take the edges off. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.